Hey guys, Katie here from Equestrian Movement. Today I'm doing a training on acceptance of contact versus submission to the bit. Acceptance of contact is where our horses seek our hands to communicate to us through contact. The different weights that we feel in our hands are an indication of what our horses are thinking and how they are balancing. Their mouth is soft and communicative, and they confidently describe their needs through the contact to us. Submission to the bit is teaching our horses to seek the release of pressure by going behind the bit and working behind the vertical. It is done by seesawing on their mouth, forcing or holding their head in a frame, and does long-term damage to the soft tissues of the horse's mouth and body. Getting your horse to work into a frame can feel like one of the hardest things that you end up doing with riding. It can feel like absolute elation when you finally get it, and then our horses only put their head down for a couple of seconds and then they're back up working hollow again. We can get super frustrated by this because we know that we want our horses to be riding with their head in a frame to do well in our dressage tests. So today I'm going to share with you our 3 top training tools that we use for acceptance of contact, so that you don't need to stress about whether your horse is working correctly in a frame, so that you can get your horse to work into contact with acceptance of contact without seesawing their head down or having to force their head into a frame or use artificial aids to keep them there. So our top 3 favorite exercises and tools for developing acceptance of contact is, as you can see me doing here now, is working our horses in hand, rein back over a pole, and taking our hands wide if our horse is trying to find the release of pressure by going above the bit. So when we're asking our horses to accept contact and to work into a working frame, we're not creating neck flexion, we're creating hock flexion. So our reins shouldn't be creating the flexion through the neck. They should be getting the flexion through the hindquarters, and we're connecting the action of the bit to the sit through the haunches. So our first exercise that we do with our horses to develop acceptance of contact is rein back over pole. This has 2 really big benefits in that it's really good for their body to take that step backwards over the pole. It really helps with the lower back. So if we are having horses with problems with their stifles or their lower back, it gives them a nice stretch and a nice reach through their back. You can see here where Phoenix isn't loving it, and he's trying to avoid lifting up his hindquarters to go over it by swinging his hindquarters around. So that's why we set up that box, and we're looking for that extend and reach over the pole. So the second bonus of this is that it is going to teach our horses the acceptance of bit pressure is going to ask them to flex deeper into their haunches, so it gets them to sit more through their haunches. Our second favorite exercise for developing acceptance of contact is doing our in-hand work to get our horses to follow, seek, and work into contact. I think one of the reasons why I find this exercise so beneficial is that it takes away the confusion of the leg aids for the horses, and we can focus purely on the mouthing process. It also requires a little bit of unity and synchronicity in movement as well, so we can find it pretty awkward when we first start out and our horse and us are like bumping into each other and bouncing off each other. Whereas over time we start to synchronize steps and we start to walk as one, which translates beautifully into the saddle with the acceptance of the contact and getting them to seek our hands. So part of seeking the rein contact is following the rein contact. So doing our yielding exercises and our steering exercises to get our horse to follow rein contact so that they can follow rein contact out and down and start to work laterally around rein contact. We can also do our halt rein backs in hand, and lots of rein backs are required to get our horses traveling in self-carriage. You can see at the moment where Phoenix is still working on the forehand, he's not transferring his weight into his hindquarters, he's still got his underneck muscle engaged. So plenty of rein backs encourages our horses to transfer their weight and their balance into their haunches so that we can build their top line to be actually able to push up into our body when we're working them into contact. So that's the compounding factor also of being on their back, is that it's our weight. Our weight has a gravitational push onto their back, and after a period of time our horses are just going to, seek the pathway of least resistance, the least amount of effort they have to put into their work, and their back sags away from us. So part of getting them to work into contact and accept contact and work into us is getting them to push into us, into our seat a little bit, having that strength of top line to provide some resistance to our weight so that we're not constantly straining and sagging their back with our weight. So as the in-hand work is one of my favorite exercises to do as a warm-up, because we can spend 15 minutes purely on just walking and developing acceptance of contact, which allows the back, as you can see with Phoenix, to start warming up and opening up before I then go and sit on their back. So my third tip for developing acceptance of contact is that the difference between, our educated horses and our greener horses is that our educated horses understand that contact is communication and that they can talk to us through bit pressure. Before that, they're actually looking to seek the release of bit pressure. So if they're looking to seek the release of bit pressure, they can be lifting their head to find the release of bit pressure by putting their head up. So you can maintain the consistency of contact without having to pull backwards by taking your hands the width of the hindquarters apart and then bringing them back together to get them to come back and follow through to contact. Once we have acceptance of contact by encouraging our horse to connect the action of the hindquarters to bit pressure, not flex deeper through the neck, to reach through, seek and connect with our hands to communicate into our hands, to communicate to us through our hands, and they aren't finding the release of pressure by going behind the bit or above the bit, then it all comes down to how we balance our exercises for that musculoskeletal development to maintain self-carriage. So using a combination of suppling and strengthening exercises to both build the tone and the strength of the sit through the haunches and the lift through the back, as well as the lateral suppleness for that elasticity of top line without it being so supple that it's weakens the shoulders where they are expected to carry us. We're using our exercises to build their body out so that they can carry us and carry good self-carriage whilst maintaining balance, straightness, and what we're looking for is that they're stepping up evenly from behind, they're traveling through the shoulders evenly, they're not getting stuck in their movement and in their action, they're seeking the contact, they're able to come more together when we shorten them, but they can also take the contact out and down and stretch, and we have relaxation, we have swing, and we're not inhibiting the way that they move or their range of movement through our aids, through our legs, through our seat, through our hands. And hopefully we're also enhancing the freedom of movement because we're increasing their overall balance and core stability by the way we use the exercises to complement our horse and the way that they work. So if you're interested in working with your horse in a way that they're looking to your hands for communication and not forcing submission to contact, then why not join us in our free workshop, our Ride with Heart workshop, over at www.equestrianmovement.com/ride with heart.